Hello, I'm Philip Chase. Welcome to my YouTube channel on the best of fantasy. Today is my fall TBR video, and as you can see, I must be a little crazy if I think I'm going to read all of these books in the fall. I'm going to give it a shot, you know? Reach for the stars and you'll probably grab air. But I'm going to give it my best shot here. I've got a lot of books I'm very excited to be reading. There are some books I want to mention too that are not really on this TBR, but they're books that I intend to pick up next year at some point for certain. And I've been hearing a lot about some of these books, and I'm also very excited to read them. But I've committed myself to too many books already. So these are books that I'm going to kind of push off until maybe next year. So one of them is going to be Sebastian de Castell's Traitor's Blade. I've been hearing a lot about that book and the trilogy in general. Mike over at Mike's Books Reviews has been talking about it, and Alan at the Library of Alexandria, and Alex Nieves. So some really great booktubers have been really talking up that book, and I'm definitely eager to check it out. Also, Josiah Bancroft's Senlin Ascends. That's another one that Alan over at the Library of Alexandria has been talking about very enthusiastically, as well as Ridhima. She's been talking that one up. So that's a book I definitely want to check out next year. There's also an author called Tom Holt. He writes under the name K.J. Parker as well. And the strength of a recommendation from one of my viewers, a viewer whose opinions I deeply respect, I'm going to check out K.J. Parker. The Fencer trilogy probably is where I'll give it a start. And then there's China Mieville. I want to really read the Perdido Street Station. That's a book I've been intending to read for a long time. It's been sort of in the back of my mind. But next year I hope to get to it. And then there's Lois McMaster Bujold. I don't know if I said her name correctly, but I'm really interested in her work. I'll probably start with The Curse of Callion next year at some point, unless somebody tells me there's a better place to start. And also, in addition to this great big pile here, I have some books that I'm definitely going to read when they come out. One is for sure Joe Abercrombie's The Trouble with Peace, which is actually going to be out really soon, in less than a couple weeks, I think. So I'm very excited to take that one up. As you probably know, if you saw my review of the first part of that trilogy, that's called A Little Hatred, I'm very excited to continue with the Age of Madness trilogy. Another one that I will be reading probably along with the rest of the universe is Brandon Sanderson's Rhythm of War. I'm very excited to read that. I've reviewed the other three books together a couple times, and so I'm very, very excited, along with everyone else, to see where Brandon Sanderson is going with this epic series. And of course, I want to also read the third book of R.F. Kuang's The Poppy War trilogy. I've read The Poppy War. I'm going to soon be reading The Dragon Republic. That's in the pile. And The Burning God is coming out in November. That's book 3, The Burning God, book 3 of the Poppy War trilogy. So I'll be definitely reading those 3 as well. In addition to those are high priority books, so I'll certainly be picking those up. Now, for this great big pile here, what do I have? Well, I'm beginning. Actually, I've already started to read Stephen Erikson's Fall of Light, which is the second book of the Carcanus trilogy. Now, I am very, very excited to read this because the first book, The Forge of Darkness, was a real breakthrough for me, and I feel like I'm getting to know this guy's writing better and better by reading this trilogy unfinished, although I have heard recently, I heard over on Iskar Jarek's channel that Stephen Erikson has returned, or will soon be returning, to book 3 of the Carcanus trilogy, so I'm very excited about that. But yeah, I'm going to be reading Fall of Light, book 2, and I'm really hoping to continue to deepen my understanding of Stephen Erikson's writing. And this is because I have a long-term plan here. And the long-term plan involves my Malazan, excuse me. I keep saying Malazan. That's a tough one to get used to. Malazan. That's how Erikson says it, so I'm going to try to say it that way. The Malazan Book of the Fallen reread I'm going to be doing next year. So my plan is finish off the 2 books that have been published so far in the Carcanus trilogy. And then I'm going to read, after that, I'm going to take on the Path to Ascendancy books by Ian Esslemont. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the Malazan Book of the Fallen, the thing is, Erikson and Esslemont created this world together. And Esslemont wrote actually 6 books that are concurrent with the Malazan Book of the Fallen, called the Novels of the Malazan Empire. And so I am preparing, this is a different series, there are 3 books so far in the Path to Ascendancy. This is sort of a prequel to Malazan Book of the Fallen. And so I'm going to be checking this out. I'm really trying to prepare for my Malazan reread. So I'm very excited to take on this prequel. Right now there are 3 books published. I believe there's a 4th coming out soon in November. I also heard about that on Iskar Jarek's channel, so I'm very excited to read that as well. But I did get hold of these 3 books, and these are high priority for me. I have all 3. There's Dancer's Lament, and there is also Deadhouse Landing, and finally there is Kellanved's Reach. So these are the 3 books so far in the Path to Ascendancy series. The prequel, sort of I believe it's the sort of how the Malazan Empire got started kind of thing. So I'll be reading those. Those are high priority. I want to finish those before the end of the year so that I am good and ready for my Malazan reread, which will begin early next year. Very excited for that. Next, I have, I'm returning to the Realm of the Elderlings. I'm going to be reading the next trilogy in the Realm of the Elderlings. That is the Live Ship Traders trilogy, beginning with Ship of Magic. So really pumped to be reading some more Robin Hobb. I just loved the Farseer trilogy. I have a review on that if you haven't seen it. Just can't say enough good things about Robin Hobb's writing. Really excited to be returning to her world. And another one that I'm really excited about, Mark Lawrence. You probably know by now, if you've been watching my videos, that I'm a big fan of Mark Lawrence. And I just recently read the first book of the Red Queen's War trilogy, and Prince of Fools, that is. And this one is the 2nd book in the Red Queen's War trilogy, The Liar's Key. So very excited to continue this. I really loved the first book, especially the 2 main characters. Had a lot of fun with that, and I hope that will continue in book 2. I also will be continuing with the Dresden Files series. I really had a great time with the first book in that series, and now I'll be taking on book 2, Full Moon. And I've heard from a lot of people that the series really takes off after book 2. So I'm going to give this one a shot, though, and I look forward to really getting further and further into the series as a whole. Very excited to continue with Jim Butcher's Dresden Files. And another one that I started recently and I'm very excited to continue with, Stephen King's The Dark Tower series. I'm going to be reading book 2, The Drawing of the Three. So very excited to continue with this one. I was pleasantly surprised because so many even fans of the Dark Tower series and of Stephen King in general sort of talked down the first book, The Gunslinger, and I really loved it. I thought it was crazy and fun, and I really enjoyed the genre bending and just the weirdness of it. So it's something different, and I really enjoyed it a lot. So I'm excited to be reading the 2nd book in the Dark Tower series. Yeah, and I've also got something that I've been hearing about for actually a little while now. I can't say that it's a relatively unknown series because millions of people have read this. And of course, it is something that has been read probably more in South Asia or people with connection to South Asia. But this is a book that I've been hearing about. I'm excited to read. It is book 1 of the Shiva trilogy. I actually have all 3 books, but book 1 is called The Immortals of Malua. And this is based on the god Shiva. And I've heard some really great things about this trilogy. In fact, we got this trilogy and my wife binge read the whole thing. Just like, boom, she loved it. So that makes me even more excited to read this. I'm expecting some great things from the Shiva trilogy, beginning with The Immortals of Malua. And another book that I have been hearing some really wonderful things about, I think it might be up there with Stephen Erikson's books, It is R. Scott Bakker, and it is pronounced Baker. I did check on that. I heard the author himself say his name, so yeah, even though there are 2 Ks in there, it's pronounced Baker. And I'm beginning his Prince of Nothing trilogy, which is part of a bigger series, I gather. And this book, first book, is called The Darkness That Comes Before. And I've been hearing some really wonderful things about this book, so I'm pretty excited to give this a shot. And I will be continuing with the Witcher books, and I'm going to take on the second book of short stories, the second short story collection in the Witcher series. That is before I begin to take on the Witcher saga proper, the novels. I'm going to finish off all the short stories. The second short story collection is called Sword of Destiny. And I enjoyed the first short story collection a whole lot, so I'm really looking forward to getting further into the Witcher world. And then I mentioned this before, Dragon Republic. I've heard some really good things about this book. I really enjoyed the Poppy War, and I've heard that the Dragon Republic is even better than the Poppy War. So, and a lot of the little criticisms that I had and many others about the Poppy War are addressed in the Dragon Republic. I've heard, for example, the treatment of the secondary characters, the supporting cast, that is. So I'm really excited. I think this could be a great trilogy. And as I said before, I'll be reading the third book when it comes out in November for sure. And I recently reviewed The Elven by Bernhard Hennen, and I'm going to be taking on the next book that's been translated into English from the original German, and that is Elven Winter. So I'm excited to continue with these adventures. I had a great fun time reading The Elven, so this should be fun. And something different for me, I'm going to try The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. And this is what I'm interested in it for a few reasons. One is just the setting. It's 18th century Cairo. So that'll be fun to try out a book that has that kind of a setting. And I've heard some good buzz about this. So I'm looking forward to checking it out and seeing what it's all about. And then I have Rage of Dragons by Elven Winter. I've also heard some good buzz around this. And again, like a setting that really has me intrigued. And I want to try this out and see what it's all about. So I'm looking forward to that. I think the second book in this, is it a trilogy? I think perhaps. But the second book, whatever it is going to be coming out soon as well. So I'm going to jump on board here too. And finally, here's one that I bought because of Mike over at Mike's Book Reviews, series that he has been talking up a lot. And that is John Gwynne's The Faithful and the Fallen. And it's book 1, Malice. So I've heard good buzz around this too. And I have no idea when I'm going to read all these books, but I'm going to give it my best shot. And I'm looking forward to whenever I get to them. And I hope that we'll have some great interactions around these books. And I hope to learn from you guys. I certainly have learned a lot already. And yeah, so please, I hope you'll join me for some of my reviews of these books. And I'll be back soon next week with another video. And yeah, until next time.